Okay, so I have some news. Some pretty good news. We'll get to the video in a second, but first I would just like to let you know that I've started doing readings. Okay, all types of readings. You can check out the services over on my website, ryancorpo.com. These readings include things such as mediumship, channelings, channeling your spirit guides, as well as chakra healing and or unblocking. They take a lot out of me, and so I've only been able to do readings for the duration of 1 week within each month. If you're interested in whether or not my calendar is currently open, you can check out my website, ryancropper.com, and I'll see you over there. Hi there guys, it's Megan Ryan, JC Ryan James Cropper, and in today's video we're going to be exploring your potential as it pertains to Reiki. Okay, now you might already be a practitioner out there. Maybe you're looking for some tips and some tricks in order to advance your practice. Well, in this video, I'll give you 6 ways to perform Reiki, many of which I've learned on psychedelics, and some I've learned just by diddy-daddling around with my own energy system. I've been able to perform these on people, so I know they work. But first off, what is Reiki? Let's talk about that. Reiki, sometimes pronounced Reiki, is the art of healing somebody with your hands. Okay? You can be healing them of an emotional illness, a mental illness, and or a physical illness. But essentially, you're going to be using your hands and moving them over the body and or making contact with the body. Okay? If we take the word Reiki, the word itself is Japanese, but it is not made up out of Japanese parts. It's actually made up out of 2 Chinese kanji. Now, kanji are sigils, the sigils that you'll often see on people if they've gotten a Chinese tattoo. It's what makes the text form look more like art. All right? And so the top of the kanji for Reiki spells out Rei, and Rei means sacred, okay, or spiritual. And then the bottom kanji, ki, means energy. And so you've got sacred or spiritual energy, okay? There's a lot of that in our known universe, a lot of it. And each aspect of universal energy or sacred energy can be used to heal the body in different ways. Each one of these ways of doing Reiki that I'm about to tell you of today will utilize a specific aspect of sacred energy in order to have a direct effect on the human anatomy. There are a lot of ways to affect the human body. Some are more accepted than others, especially by the scientific community. You see, the scientific community, they accept Reiki's existence simply because they're referring to it as touch therapy. How touching the body in specific areas can help soothe a patient, which will then allow them to relax and let go of emotional stress. And this could also be correct because you're directly tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest, digestion, and healing processes within the body. And it's a nervous system, so it's housing energy, it's housing bioelectricity, which is present within all forms of life throughout our known universe, and I'm sure other universes too. And so how is the electricity within our body, within our nervous systems, not sacred? Okay, it is. It's just an aspect of energy that most people are more likely to accept. And in some sense, they're right. Actually, they're right. Now, I'm not saying that their idea on Reiki is the definitive idea. Remember, there are 6 ways of healing somebody using energy, sacred energy. But from the perspective that they're looking at this entire thing, this entire practice, they're not entirely wrong. So touch therapy, well, you're taking off the sacred aspect of the kanji, the rei, and then ki, energy. So the reason why I say it like this is because I want to open you up to the possibilities of, what does it mean to actually practice Reiki? Is it just staying refined and very strict to one way of being, one way of seeing the practice, and only harnessing one type of energy in order to help someone heal? Or could you utilize all aspects of sacred energy to help heal the human body? Okay? So they're not entirely wrong there. But like I said, each aspect of sacred energy does something different to the body. So let's get into some more of what you could do to help increase your practice at home. Let's focus on the term life force for a second. Life force, okay? There are two cultures in the world at the moment that are calling this one thing two different names. Chi and pranayama. Right? Chi and pranayama. They both mean life force. Now you're probably wondering as to why. Well, Chi refers to life force in one specific state, and pranayama refers to it in another. Okay? Chi refers to life force as it exists within the human body, and pranayama refers to life force as it exists out there in the world, as well as the many things that are attributed to pranayama, such as meridians within the body. And so with this knowledge, we can better understand as to how we should use life force in different states. For example, when it comes to opening the meridian pathways within the body, you'd want to use pranayama. Okay, you'd want to focus on life force in that state. And the way that you do that is simply by breathing a certain type of way and blowing out in all directions. And what you'll effectively would have achieved, even if it's gradual, is a clearing of your meridians. Okay, so you're taking prana and you're blowing it throughout your system. I have a video on this. It's called How to Feel Chi. I get you to actually use your hand and blow in a specific way to open up the meridian points within your palm, and you actually feel what prana feels like. I'll put an annotation to that video on the screen. But essentially, why would you want to utilize life force in this form, pranayama? Well, when you clear the meridians out, what ends up happening is anywhere in the body where there otherwise would have been swelling, so in the knee, okay, in the back of the neck, the lower back, or even the intestines, those areas no longer become inflamed. You basically reduce swelling within the body, which will allow for a better healing process. Because sometimes you can have too much swelling in one area, and that can actually obstruct your body's ability to heal that location. So by removing swelling, of course, you help to better improve your chances of healing the body. Using pranayama in this way, you can actually feel the swelling in real time subside. It's because you're using the element of wind to blow prana through these meridians. I go into it in even more detail as to why it's akin to an element in that How to Feel Chi video. But essentially, every healing force within the body and or outside of the body can be attributed to a specific element, be that lightning, wind, fire, and earth. And so, pranayama, life force, in that form, can be utilized during your sessions in order to reduce swelling from your patients' bodies. If you learn how to control it, how to breathe it in and out of the body, you can better transfer that to another person's body to help clear out their meridian pathways too, thus alleviating them from any form of swelling in the body. Now here's the cool thing about pranayama, okay? It doesn't take much to make pranayama chi. As you're breathing in cold air, either through your nose or through your mouth, you are sensitizing the nerves within a particular region of the body, depending on how you're breathing. And that will cause a buildup of energy within the body, okay? A buildup of chi. You've taken something that is more wind element and you're making it more electrical. There are other ways, of course, to build chi within the body, going back to picoelectricity. When you bend your bones through a lot of this action, through shifting your weight down towards your knees and bowing the legs, you are bending your bones. And whenever you bend your bones, the silica within your bones will actually create an electrical charge. Okay, that gets moved over to the blood cells, and then it circulates throughout the body. Usually people who do Qigong build the blood or build the Qi after doing these movement exercises in their dantian, which creates quite a substantial electrical charge. You're basically energizing your cells like little batteries, literally actually, with electricity, and you're gathering them all within one place. And the tissue of your intestines have been proven to hold high electrical charges, more than your brain, in fact, and other tissues within your body. And so you create electricity, peak electricity, through bowing, through movements, through increasing pressure on the bones. You move that charged blood to your dantian, where the tissue of your intestines can better absorb that electricity. Okay. Your body's a battery. It's a living battery. This is important to know because the difference between a dying cell and a living cell, most of the time, is just an electrical charge. You need to jumpstart the cells in order to bring the body back to life. When you're doing Reiki, it's good to learn Qigong first, and it's good to be able to deliberately increase a charge within the palm of your hands, for example, so that you can pass that charge along to the patient's body, whether it be their heart, their kidneys, their liver, wherever it is, their eyes, because that subtlety, depending on how well you do, sometimes subtlety is enough, will jumpstart their failing organs, okay, or their failing tissue, depending on what's wrong with them. So there is a way to do this. I'm not going to let you go empty-handed. I'm going to tell you how to do this with your hand, how to build an electrical charge. Going based off of physics, it's very simple. Take your hand, okay, and keep it as still as possible. Slowly bring your fingers forward, but to the camera and even to your own eyes, it looks like your hands aren't even moving. That'll create enough pressure to start to build charge. And slowly bring your fingers back, but again, you shouldn't really be able to see your hand move at all. What you'll notice is that the tendons and the ligaments within your hand start to become quite stressed. They'll create a charge. And if you do that over the top of your other hand, you'll notice that you'll start to feel a substantial amount of heat. Okay, now you're not going for heat, you're going for tension. Don't tense your hand like that and expect it to work. It's subtle tension. Tension that comes from moving in a specific direction very slowly, gradually, okay? The more gradual you can be and the more relaxed you can be, the more of a charge you'll build, right? You need to be relaxed when you do this so that you can better control what parts of the hand are tense and what parts aren't tense. That will allow you to create a charge within a specific area of the body, right? If I was just to do this, yeah, there are charges going off, but they're being moved into the muscle tissue to move my fingers like that, like a claw. I don't want that. I want just a charge that I can circulate throughout the palm of my hand. And so if I just gently do it, again, to the point where I can't see my fingers moving, and then I relax most of my hand, and I just keep going with the palm of my hand, it kind of feels like the palm of my hand wants to come back like that. If you imagine a sucker on a sheet of glass and you bring that sucker back like this, it's only going to cause the center of that sucker to become quite active, right? Same thing with your hand. And so, okay, bow just a little bit, bring that sucker back just a little bit. You'll be controlling where the charge is in the hand. It might take a little bit of practice, okay? But as you do it, I'm sure you'll start to figure out a lot of what I just said. It's quite intuitive in that it's very feeling based, okay? And eventually you'll get to the point where the nerves within your hand will begin to hurt, okay? If you're feeling it, your patient's gonna feel it. And so if you get it to that point and then you lay your hand on top of your patient's body, usually the wrists and the bottom of the ankle, you'll be successfully transferring that electrical charge to their body. You'll see them jolt, you'll see them twitch, and you can correct the circuitry if you understand negative and positive poles of the hands and feet. Okay, you want to shoot a charge up from the left all the way up and over down to the right foot, or depending again on what's wrong, certain parts of the body. Now, the hand isn't the only place where you can build a charge. You can build a charge within your tongue. If you lay there in your bed, get into a very deep, relaxed state, and place all of your awareness on your tongue, because you're taking your attention off of your other senses, such as hearing, feeling the body, what's going to happen is all of your awareness goes straight into your tongue, which can cause quite an electrical charge. It actually really, really hurts. It might take a while, but once you open that kind of gate within your tongue, it stays open and it becomes relatively easy to create a charge there for the second time, the third time, fourth time, and so on. Okay? The next place that you can build a charge is underneath your kneecap. All right? If you place your attention there, do the exact same thing. Just keep your attention there whilst you get into a very deep state. What's going to happen is you're going to create a nice electrical charge underneath your kneecaps. If you know how to direct energy, you can move it throughout the body. Usually if you just stop though, it will go somewhere else in your body. Usually where your body needs it the most. The third way of using sacred energies in order to help heal a person, and I've touched on this before, but I just want to touch on it again and expand it a little further. Therapeutic touch. Touching a patient so that you're able to trigger their parasympathetic nervous system, having them calm down, relax, digest their food, and further heal. You have to touch them in specific areas of the body. In psychology, they call these areas soothers. Okay, you can touch them here. It soothes them. You can touch them here. And it soothes them. Okay. You can touch them on the side of the throat, open palm, and it will soothe them. Not like this, because you send a different message to their body. Okay, you will trigger their autonomic nervous system, which makes them want to run or fight you, fight or flight. Okay, open palm is best. Not at the back of the neck neither, because you can freak them out. Unless you're going to do it to the side of the back of the neck, kind of like you're holding their head. Okay, see, I'm not like this. I'm like this. Okay, that can make people feel very safe, very calm, and very relaxed. Other soothers include their knees. If you can just rub their knee gently, it'll also calm them down. You've probably seen people do that if they get worked up and or angry. They rub their knee, taking the palm, putting it on top of their chest, telling them to breathe out. It's another soother, okay? So we call these self-soothers because people usually do them to themselves. They will either hug themselves like this when they're uncomfortable and they're speaking to someone. It's basically comfort. Most people believe that because their arms are crossed, they're being standoffish, if not aggressive. They're not, they're just hugging themselves into a state of comfortability, okay? Hugging the foot, taking the foot, putting it on your lap, kind of massaging it. It's a self-soother. You can do these self-soothers to other people, okay, if you understand what makes you calm whenever you're stressed out. Is it touching the ridge of your nose? Is it playing with your ear? Now, of course, every practitioner asks their patient as to what level of touch are they comfortable with. That would be a good place to start if you're not already doing that within your sessions. And so, what else can it do other than soothing a patient? Well, whenever you take something warm, like the palm of your hand, and you place it over a certain region of someone else's body, you effectively relax their muscle tissue. You dilate arteries and veins, which allow for blood flow to enter into that region of the body, having the body deliver nutrients and stem cells and other hormones that help to heal the tissue of the body. All right? And so vasodilation plays a big role in the healing of the body. And of course your hands are going to be warm. You naturally radiate a specific amount of body heat. But on top of that, if you're creating that picoelectric, we're going to be getting some really, really hot hands. The fourth way to heal someone with Reiki deals with the placebo effect. Now, placebo doesn't mean false. It simply means that through suggestibility, you tell your body what to do. A little example here, if you've ever thought about being with someone sexually, okay, or you've had any thought like that, you get aroused very quickly, matter of fact. That's a placebo effect. The arousal is real, right? The suggestibility, not so much, not if you're using your imagination. Okay, you can do the same thing with health. Let's say you've had a headache for a while. You sit there, you imagine yourself being well, no headache. You actually imagine the specific area of the body where you're feeling pain just being okay. Your body can't tell the difference between your imagination and real life, and so your headache will disappear. And so you can placebo pain away simply by imagining yourself well. But how does that translate across to a patient of yours? You've all come across by now, I'm sure, the concept, but to others, the reality of the fact that we are all one being dreaming itself into existence, having experiences with other versions of itself, right? Well, let's say you can attain that state of being whilst being in front of a patient. And it just feels like it's just you in the room, right? You've taken down that wall of separation. You feel like you're dealing with one body. And then all of a sudden, you feel pain in your shoulder. Not your shoulder, but your patient's shoulder, right? And then you imagine it gone. You say to yourself, my shoulder doesn't actually hurt. Imagine it being fine, the pain disappears. That person no longer feels pain in their shoulder. Because you've reached this universal level of collective consciousness, right? And you've been able to become one with that individual, feel into their body, and imagine yourself well. That's where it comes in handy. Yes, you can placebo yourself into a state of wellness, but you can also placebo others into a state of wellness. It takes a little practice, takes a little time. It might take a few psychedelic trips or two. But eventually you'll get there, maybe, if that's what you want. I say maybe because psychedelics isn't for everyone. You don't have to use psychedelics in order to reach that level of consciousness where you feel like you are everything. You can do it simply by staying still and recognizing yourself in others. I mentioned within my last video as to how to achieve this. The last video was called 6 Signs That You Are Dreaming. Okay, and so just to recap, the first way that you can use sacred energy in order to heal a patient is through prana or pranayama, blowing open their meridians so that swelling can be released out of their body. Okay. The second way was through picoelectricity, in other words, using chi, blowing off the body in order to create a charge within your stomach, and then having that transfer across to your patient to better add a charge to parts of their anatomy that are slowly dying. Okay, you basically shock them back to life. Their dead tissue, shock it back to life. Their dead cells, shock it back to life. Okay, the third way was through therapeutic touch, as to how triggering their parasympathetic nervous system will calm them down, triggering the rest, heal, and digestion response, on top of vasodilating their arteries and their veins, allowing for blood and nutrients to go to infected areas or affected areas based on their ailment. The fourth was placeboing yourself out of some type of illness, whether it be a headache, a flu, you name it. Just imagine yourself well. Now the fifth sounded very much like the fourth. Do the same thing to others, reaching that state of godlike consciousness, and then, on their behalf, placebo the pain away, out of their body. Number 6, psychic surgery. Psychic surgery. It's not something you can just figure out by yourself, unfortunately. I'll tell you what it is, I'll tell you how it's done. But usually, you have to have something initiate you through an experience. Okay, more on that in a second. I'll tell you as to how I came about it. But essentially the way that it's done is you use your hands to connect to a person's energy body and or energy bodies, because you can deal with all of them. And you spiral out blockages. You remove chunks of damage and emotional stress, grief and turmoil that are affecting the body. You can clear them entirely. You can pull out traumas out of their body. It's some intense stuff. And the good thing is that you don't need to be next to them in order to do this. You can do this over a vast distance, okay? Distance healing. Now again, it's not something that you can just figure out. You need to be initiated into it. The reason as to why I was initiated into it is because I took a ton of ayahuasca and I had beings from another timeline. I know this is going to sound kind of woo-woo, but I had beings from another timeline channel into my body and use my hands in order to perform psychic surgery. They moved my head around, they opened my eyes, they got into my mouth and pulled things out of my teeth. They even pulled literal hair out of my head. They did this for 8 hours straight, day by day, for 4 days. And at that point, they had etched it into my nervous system. I was able to do it automatically because they had entrained my body into that state. You're lucky if you're able to experience that on ayahuasca. I'm not sure if you can experience it on other psychedelics. Maybe you have experienced it on things like mushrooms or San Pedro, or maybe even other forms of DMT like Bufo. If you have, let everyone know in the comment section below. Okay. But essentially, the reason as to why this is so healing, I mean, if it hasn't spoken for itself already, is because you can remove a tremendous amount of stuff, baggage from your patients. Right? Not just stuff to deal with this lifetime, but also other lifetimes. You can pull things away, hurts, pains, griefs, anything from them that's attached to them. You can remove it. It's pretty fun. It's taxing to the body. However, if you've learned how to do it by way of an initiation, you would have also learned as to how to clear yourself and your hands, your instruments, from dilly-daddling around in someone else's energy and pulling out certain things. Okay? And not to worry, you're not removing anything of importance. You're not knocking something out of place. They're not going to wake up out of the session forgetting their name or anything like that. Again, if you've been initiated, you'll know exactly what you're doing. And so that's the 6th way of healing a person on your Reiki table. There is a 7th, dealing with your astral body, although for the sake of time, I would prefer to refer you to that video. It did pretty well. Posted it like 3 months ago. I'll leave an annotation to that video also in this video. So that's going to be about it for today's video, guys. I'm Ryan JC, Ryan James Cropper. Try these out to make your practice a little bit better. And if you're interested in taking your energy practices further, I do have a service available on my website, ryancropper.com, one by which where I help you progress with your Kundalini energy. Okay, opening that up. It's guided. It's pretty fun. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.